Today I'm going to tell you a story about how I tore both my ACLs, had 5 knee surgeries, and how it almost ruined my life and took me completely off track. And exactly what all that has to do with your old aging ass and your old bones and your old joints. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? Frank Daniels here. And one of the biggest problems I see, because I work with a lot of people at my gym, Max Impact Training, over the course of time, is people convincing themselves that they are old, that because they've had some creaky joints, some old injuries, and because they're starting to age, that they can't train aggressively anymore. And personally, I like to believe that the body is an incredibly adaptive machine. I think that's a word. Adaptive machine. And it will work for you if you make it work. Now let me tell you why. So if you haven't heard my story before, growing up as a kid, my father, he was sick of multiple sclerosis, like pretty sick. Like we had to take care of him for many, many years. It was scary. It was pretty bad. And my mother, she abandoned the family. These are stories for another day, so I'm not going to get too much into them. But as I was growing up, I must have wanted to escape these things. I was always I consider myself like a dreamer, right? I'm always dreaming. Even to this day, I'm dreaming about things that are maybe I shouldn't be thinking about. But as a kid growing up, all I ever wanted to do was be like a professional football player. Now, I'm not saying I was good enough to be a professional football player, but I was pretty decent. I was always an athlete. So even when I was younger, like when I was 10, 11 years old, I'd be outside on the hill, outside the house, sprinting up the hill, one sprint after another. I was the type of kid that if it was snowing, I would take the basketball outside and go hit the basketball court. And even though that wasn't my main sport, I'd be out there practicing basketball in 6 inches, 12 inches of snow. So that's kind of just the way I was from the beginning. I remember being 12 years old and I never trained with weights before this summer. Before it was 7th grade is my first year on modified football. And my godparents took us to the gym over the summer. And I think we worked out all the 3 times. I remember going on the bench. I think I bench pressed 135 for reps the first time that I ever did it. It was nothing. I got on that bench and we probably worked out all the 3 times. And I came back to football practice after that summer, and everybody was like, "Yo, what the fuck happened to Frank, man? How did he get so jacked?" It was people are already trying to say I was doing steroids or whatever, but that wasn't happening at that particular point. But right from the jump, it was man, athlete. And even from there, moving into high school, in 9th grade, I played on the varsity. We won a state championship that particular year. We were all big boys. I was a big boy. I was already, over 200 pounds by the time I was in 9th grade. I was running fast. I would dream about working out. I would study books even as 13, 14. The coach would come to me and ask me what type of equipment we should buy. That's how in tune I was with working out, with my body, with the things it took to be a better athlete at that particular point. So we were pretty good athletes in school. We had a pretty good school when it came to football and a lot of different sports. I myself, again, I'm not saying I'm a Division I athlete, but definitely a Division I AA, if not teetering on that Division I. So it was definitely a big opportunity for me to kind of change my background and my life story through football. And maybe another side caveat to the story is you probably shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, because at that particular point, that's all I ever wanted to do. And kind of when it came crashing down, it sucked for the most part. Finally, when I got to my senior year, that was going to be my best year. I was already playing 4 years at that particular point, and that's the time when I tore my ACL my senior year. Something that at the time people weren't really tearing a lot of ACLs, and it was crazy because it really derailed me from where I believed I was going at that particular point. And as a young kid, especially dealing with a lot of problems at home, it was more difficult for me to, I guess, accept whatever challenge that was to a kid at that particular point. I don't know if I had the appropriate guidance to be able to do it. I don't really know if I had the ability to be able to recover from that at that particular point. So, when I tore my knee my senior year, I was devastated and literally, I might be telling myself this, but I feel the whole school was devastated. It just kicked everybody in the stomach. It was just crazy. I couldn't believe it. And I literally didn't know what to do with myself. So I ended up going to school afterwards, but not where I really wanted to go. And it was again, with all the trouble I had experienced before, it was really hard for me to recover from that. And I ended up back home from school. Didn't really work out. I never played college football like I really wanted to. Ended up coming home and getting more surgeries on the same knee. Fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm starting to get myself together. Again, we got some other side stories we'll tell you guys in another video, but starting to get myself together physically. I'd had 3 knee surgeries on the same side, and we're messing around playing flag football at the same school, literally in the same spot. I had tore one knee. I ended up tearing my other knee, and this is a couple years later, and I was just trying to work myself back into shape, and I tore the other knee. And these things happen again when you kind of incur injuries. Sometimes it leaves other areas susceptible, and I wasn't even a trainer at that particular point, but I tore the other knee and went to the hospital, and I remember being like, very pissed off because now I had to kind of deal with these things again. But I also remember being very like super determined, like the minute I went in the hospital, that like I was gonna like recover from this, and then I was gonna play sports at a high level again. A couple months later, I decided I was going to jump out a little early after rehab. So after I had my surgery, it actually took a year before I could get insurance to be able to get surgery. So I was walking around with a torn ACL for a year. I remember at times it like buckling and slipping when I was like working and stuff. And then I got surgery about a year and a couple months later. And then a few months after that, I was like, let me play some pickup basketball with my friends. And I ended up jumping for like a rebound, and I could literally feel like my patella tendon like split in half. It stayed, but it like split like this. Like even to this day, I can run my hand over it, and it like split. So that literally set me back like probably a year or so from being able to rehab from that. After kind of coming from that, I really believed that like my body was just going to be jammed up. Like my body, like physically, like I would go to sprint and it would feel like I was like sprinting on stilts. Like it would feel like my shins were going to snap. I would train on like treadmills. I would walk up treadmills, and like the pain that I would have during the course of rehabbing was just incredible. Now that I think back at it, so it's actually so long ago at this particular point, I don't like really think about it or recognize it, but the amount of pain that I went through to be able to recover from this stuff is incredible. And again, it's one of those things that kind of builds character. But I specifically remember like sprinting. It literally felt like my shins were going to snap. And it's nothing like that at this particular point. A couple years later, after kind of building myself into some decent shape, I became a personal trainer. So I started to learn a hell of a lot of things about the body, and I started to put a lot of it into play. So what I previously thought I couldn't do, all of a sudden I started to kind of work myself back into shape. So like all this like explosive ability and strength and things that I thought were like gone forever, like years later came back. Like 4, 5, 6 years later came back, to the point where now I was playing football. Now mind you, it's pickup football with like flag football and things. People are never impressed by that, by the way, but it's competitive. Damn you, it's competitive. But I was playing flag football, and all of a sudden I had this ability to like cut and jump and run and squat and do all these things I hadn't done in years. Like I had the same athletic ability that I had when I was younger, just 5 knee surgeries later, a broken lower leg, and a little bit of like kind of joint discomfort. Nothing too crazy, but literally had the same ability I had when I thought in my mind I would never have that stuff again. So the moral of the story is this: stop saying you're old. Stop considering your injuries or your age to be something that should prevent you from having a very active and very healthy lifestyle. Now, once again, I've had 5 knee surgeries, so there certainly is some discomfort. I also do a lot of extra to bang it up by playing sports a lot and cutting and being very aggressive. Not everyone's trying to do that. But the big point here is, years later, after the fact that I thought my body was completely like trashed and it would never come back, after I just kept continuing on the same path and pushed it just a little bit more and a little bit more each day, ultimately it came back to me, to the point where, again, now I'm a fitness professional. I sell fitness, I sell exercise all day long, and you can't convince me just because I had 5 knee surgeries or I'm getting older that if I put in the work to just do a little maintenance on my body every single day, that I can't be at a high level high level athletically, and a high level just in physical ability for the duration of life. So the big point here is you're not old, you're not injured, your past injuries probably don't dictate your life as much as you think that they are. And in reality, what you need to do is set just a little time each day to maintain the body as you would an automobile. If you take your automobile and you just drive it and you never change the fluids, you never get an update, you never check the tire pressure and balance those things, it's going to get screwed up. But if you do a little bit of maintenance on it as you go along, it's going to work for you. So that's the big point here, guys, is even with all that stuff going on, I'm still kicking, and if you want to still keep it kicking, all you got to do is just a little bit of work. The human body is an incredible machine. It will work for you. Now, if you really enjoyed this video, of course, we'd love for you to head down below, like, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to this channel right here. I hope this helps you out, guys. Enjoy your day. What's up, guys? Frank Daniels here, and your old bones and your old joints. Stay tuned. And how it can help you. Sometimes you just gotta know what the fuck you're gonna say before you're gonna say it. You gotta come with a plan. What's up, guys? Frank Daniels here, and you haven't. If you haven't, you have it. You definitely haven't. But if you haven't, subscribe to this damn channel.